Hi, everybody. Coulter Brown here with Northern Ag TV. We're coming to you from Kansas City at the National Association of Farm Broadcasting Convention, joined here by Ethan Lane with the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. And Ethan, things just never slow down for you. We're just always changing things, especially now after the election. There's a lot of things up in the air. What are you looking forward to as we think about this next administration? Certainly a lot of change in leadership at the agencies, but maybe the chance to roll back some of the burdensome regulations we've seen on ranchers.
Well, that's just it. This is a really pivotal election, and I think the result we now see coming clear. The House is resolved, the Senate is done, Donald Trump has won, and convincingly so, right, with the popular vote as well. We have some new senators coming in, some from states like Montana, that understand agriculture, that want to go to work for cattle producers, and that know that the last 4 years has been a really difficult environment with the federal government here in Washington, whether that is some of the stuff we've seen coming out of Secretary Vilsack during his extremely long time in the Secretary's office, whether that's the new BLM conservation rule, some of what we're seeing on sage grouse with those new plans coming out, rolling back all of the work that Donald Trump did in his first term on the Endangered Species Act, dealing with critical habitat and things like that. Even NEPA, National Environmental Policy Act work that was so critical in the Trump administration that the Biden team immediately set about undoing. Just putting all of that back together again is a workload in and of itself. But before we can get to that, we still have this transition process. We have lame duck. We've got to focus on what we do with this farm bill that's now quite a bit late, despite the fact that it's wildly popular with agriculture. It's a great bill. G.T. Thompson did a great job with it. So we'll be watching the next couple of weeks very closely and see what they can get cleared off the decks in order to give kind of a cleaner start to the 119th Congress and the new Trump administration in January.
What do you place the odds at of getting a farm bill done this year? Is that a 2025 project?
I have been consistently saying that I did not think the math worked in the House of Representatives. Forget the Senate, right? Just in the House to get that done in this Congress. I think that given that single-party control of Washington result, given the circumstances we find ourselves in, maybe that creates a little window of opportunity here for people who were steadfastly opposed to this bill to now get a little more reasonable, because if they're looking down the calendar a little bit, this may be the best opportunity they get for a while to get a balanced bill like G.T. Thompson has put together. So I'm hopeful that brings people to the table and creates a little opportunity.
Well, the other big change we've seen this fall, on November 5th actually, the EID mandate by the USDA takes effect, replacing the old metal clip tags. Certainly there's a lot of questions still in cattle country about that. I know NCBA helped to secure some funds for it. So now, what's the project now? Is it just answering questions from ranchers so they understand what's required of them?
We're still dealing with, I think, a tremendous amount of misinformation out there. Probably a little bit intentional, a little bit unintentional. That echo chamber effect of, gosh, I heard we're going to have to tag all of our calves. We're going to have to turn over all of our emissions data, and they're going to depopulate with this, and all these things that have really concerned producers because they're hearing them from all these different sources. We've spent a lot of time just helping them understand the reality of what we're talking about here, what we're contemplating with the rule that went into effect on November 5th. This is simply a technology upgrade. What was a metal tag required to comply with that traceability rule that's been in place for this class of cattle since 2013 now has to be a visually and electronically readable tag, an 840 tag. And so, we really are spending a lot of time making sure our producers are armed with what this is not, right, as much as anything else, because the reality of what it is pretty darn simple. So we still have some work to do making sure that APHIS is giving the resources that they need to the states to make sure they're equipped to implement this properly. We know all of the states supposedly received all of the tags that they were supposed to get allocated as part of that program that we worked with Congress to secure last year. We know there's work left to be done on that. There are some states that are still short, particularly those operating in those areas where they have other obligations, right, to monitor for disease or are up against national parks or, any of those different areas, Montana certainly being one of those. So we're still plugged in tight working with USDA. We sent them a letter this week articulating some of our concerns with how this is rolling out, helping them understand where they've fallen short here and where we can maybe be helpful in closing some of those gaps in understanding and information. But certainly a process still underway as we figure out how to comply with this regulation and support our members.
Well, Ethan, thanks a lot for being here. Stay with us. We'll be back to dive into the markets after this.
From the beginning, we've worked closely with farmers. BNSF's ties to the agricultural community go back 175 years. Together, we've innovated to make the U.S. agriculture supply chain one of the most efficient and productive in the world. Our strong relationship powers BNSF still today and helps us move the nation like no one else can. At BNSF, we move the nation for you.
Well, thanks for sticking around for our markets, everybody. Of course, we'll start out with the cattle futures, where they did see some pressure on Thursday, both live and feeder cattle finishing in the red. Weakness in box beef helping to pull prices lower, as well as that cash-fed cattle trade down $2 to $4, with live sales from 182 to 184, dress trade 287 to 294. The calf market in Torrington, though, $4 to $8 higher this week. Upper 4-weight steers average $345. The light 5-weights found an average at $340. Upper 5-weight steers at $306, and the 6 to 6.5 weights averaging $284. A big offering of way-up cows at Pays and Billings, and the market did trend 2 to 3 lower. Majority of the cows selling 109 to 120. Your lean cows 93 to 107. Heifrettes from 140 to 217, and the slaughter bulls 144 to 154. And I kind of feel like a broken record talking about the grain market. It moved lower again. In the last month or so, we're down 70 to 80 cents in the hard red winter and spring wheat. Of course, the pressure this week coming from improving winter wheat condition ratings. Of course, the dollar that's increased substantially since the election. Harvest in the southern hemisphere has started with better than expected yields in Australia. And of course, a lot of concern about the future of trade and exports with the new administration coming. We finished the week with December hard red spring wheat at $5.66, winter wheat at $5.33. That's going to do it for this morning's report. Thanks so much for joining us. Reporting from Kansas City at the National Association of Farm Broadcasting Convention, I'm Coulter Brown. Have a good one.